Well, guys, welcome back once again to the Proclaim podcast. Today is another day where we get to bring one of our friends, one of our church members, folks in the community in with us and just hear their story. And so we're looking forward today to hearing from our friend, Mr. Neil Collier, with us. And so, it's Neil has been in this church for a while, off and on, right? Grew up here some, and he'll talk more about that later. And moved away, and then the Lord brought him back. I don't know if you were one of those people that said, I'll never come back to Blakely like some folks do. I still laugh when people say that, but we'll find out, I guess. But yeah, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, and we're so glad to have you on. So we're going to jump right into everything right off the bat. So we're going to start with those people that are most important to you, right? Yeah. Your family, your immediate family. So tell us a little bit about your wife, your kids, and all of that right now.
So me and Stephanie, we met in high school when she moved from Texas and came to Early County, and for me it was love at first sight.
Right.
I tell this story, and she rolls her eyes, but it was true. It really happened. I was leaving the school parking lot in my little S10, and I was talking to my buddy in the front seat with me, and I look over, and the steps of the school right there next to the gym, this beautiful girl was standing there. I never seen her before, and she had a lavender backpack on. And I'm like so entranced looking at her that I'm not paying attention, and my buddy screams, "Hey man, you're about to hit this car."
Oh goodness.
And so I slam on brakes, but like that's, immediately, like I was drawn to Stephanie. And so I pursue her for 7 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so in high school, we're like friends. I'm stuck in the friend zone, but I'm still constantly pursuing her. And so
kind of like, who was it?
Jacob,
yeah.
Absolutely. I tell her all the time,
there you go.
Man, I feel this guy. I feel for him. And so that's how it all started, and through college we became better friends.
Gotcha.
And I was off to school in Minnesota, and then living in Africa, and so we would write letters back and forth, and just built that relationship. And eventually, it comes to a point where you're so close, you're like, I can't imagine living without this person, and it was very much like that. And so. So right after she graduated from college, we got married shortly after, and then 10 months later, here comes Eli. I mean, wow. So it was we really haven't had marriage without kids. Yeah. So just right off the bat, it's we jumped into the fire. So, but it's been good, and so. Eli, he's my oldest. He's 12 now, and so we're getting into the teenage years. And
fun.
Eli, if I had said anything about him, he is my most empathetic, caring child. He's full of energy, and sometimes that's aggravating. But one of the prayers that me and Stephanie prayed early on for Eli is that he would be tender towards sin. Mm-hmm. Like, so even when he was a baby, I just had that in my heart to pray over him. Yeah. And that is such the case. I mean, he's the first that has come to Christ and been baptized here at the church shortly after we joined. And so I don't know, firstborn, just love him. So, and
he's a good kid.
Eli is a good kid.
Yeah, he's definitely a leader. And sometimes he doesn't even know he's a leader, but he is. And so I'm thankful for that.
I could see Drew the other night. Drew was just following him around everywhere. He was going to be in Eli's group. They were going to talk about like sports, and I think Eli did a backflip on the playground. Yeah. And Drew's like, "Oh, he can do a backflip, Cam!" Just like in amazement at Eli there. And so that's neat I'm excited for Drew to have that.
His daddy cannot do a backflip. Never could. So no, he's definitely an athletic kid, more so than I was.
I hear you.
And Lydia, you talk about being an athlete. She is probably, and people don't know this, she is the most athletic of all three of them.
Yeah,
really.
I mean, she is.
She's competitive too.
Yeah. And that's the thing. She has the determination.
I noticed that this year at VBS, we were playing a kickball game, and she was zoned in on it.
Oh yeah, and she doesn't like to lose. Yeah. She's going to be angry.
Right. So, we'll have to remember that when she gets up to youth.
Yeah. That's right.
Oh, for sure. And Ben is the little comedian of the family. Like Disciplining Ben is so difficult because he'll just look at you and he'll just do funny things with his eyes. And you're just trying as a parent. You're like, it's a serious situation. You're like, trying not to laugh. And I have an easier time with disciplining than Stephanie does because he's the baby. And she loves him and he's hilarious. And we were singing hymns last night. And sometimes I tell the kids, all right, y'all are gonna sing this by yourself because I want them to do it on their own and because they know some of these songs. And so Eli, he naturally leads off because he enjoys singing. And so he looked at Ben, he said, Ben, you can't be changing the words now. And because Ben will do that. They'll be in there singing before we get started with family worship. And Ben will just be making up, words. And so I think it was, come ye sinners, poor and needy. And Ben would say, come ye sinners, poor and thirsty, wandering through a desert,
Oh my goodness.
But he's a comedian, so no, but I love my family, love my kids.
They're good kids. Every time I've been around them, and I can definitely see that. I didn't realize she was the most athletic, but now that you mentioned that, I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes total sense because I've seen her out on the playground at least, and I think at VBS as well. I remember watching, and man, she gives them boys a run for their money.
She's got to though.
She does.
She's right in the middle.
Yeah.
She can hold her own.
She definitely can hold her own. Yeah. You just mentioned there before we get into anything else. The family worship aspect. Just leading that in the home, and that's one thing we've talked about a few different times, and it's one thing I really respect. And one thing that I would love to incorporate more so in my own home, and you think, well, you're a minister, you ought to be. Well, yeah, I know, I realize that.
No, it's hard.
It is. It's a tough thing to do. So just share a little bit about that. Like, when did y'all start that? And like, how does that kind of just practically, how does that look for you and your family, especially, and like what kind of led you into that?
So growing up, we didn't have that experience, and it wasn't something that was talked about. It's never talked about in church, And so it was through my own seeking out older men that those like Joel Beakey that they would talk about this. They'd write books about it, and I'm like, okay, maybe there's something to this. And then realizing like it's commanded in Scripture that you lead your family in worship, and so we started with Eli when he was young, and just a toddler. We would go in and we just sing hymns, and we started off with one, Trust and Obey, and it just kind of grew from there. Now there was a season where all three of the kids were young, and it's like the couch is a trampoline, and it's just a circus, and I would easily get frustrated during those times because I really wanted to do it and do it well. And there would be seasons where we would do it, and then seasons where we wouldn't. I would just be overwhelmed by it. But we would get back up, get back in the saddle, and try it again until really when they got to the age where they could sit still, pretty decently. And that was when we really got going and having a order to things. So we do the same thing every night.
Right.
Okay. We have 3 hymns, okay, that we sing, and then I'll read one chapter of whatever book we're going through.
Yeah.
Just read it. If there's discussion, then we'll discuss it. If not, then we just let it be what it is. Yeah. But it's getting in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And then praying. And when we first started off, me and Stephanie would pray, but then as it's, as we've grown in it, we've let the kids pray. And so we go around, we'll start with one and end with whoever. And some nights, we'll pray for whatever's on our heart. And some nights I'll say, all right, Eli, you pray for Mom. And Lydia, you pray for Ben. And that way, because sometimes those sibling dynamics, they have frustrations with each other. And that comes out if you got to pray for someone. And so we've been able to talk about sin, and it's brought up some good conversations. But really, ultimately, I want worship of God to be something that we do every day, and I want it to be a priority. And being in ministry, full time, I didn't realize the importance of it, of family worship, until being in this position. There's so much that I get from it.
Yeah.
I mean, it may be one verse of a passage that just rings out to me.
Yeah.
And God will use it in my life. And there was one instance a couple months ago where I went to visit a church, because that's part of what I do, and I was just going to visit. And it was nothing, I had no obligation there. I'm just going to encourage the people. And a deacon walks out 5 minutes before the service and says, "Hey, the pastor isn't going to be here. Would you preach?"
Oh, wow.
Oh, boy.
And I'm like, "Yeah, I'd be glad to." And so, but it was because of family worship that week, God had been working on me with just one verse that stuck out to me in Jonah. And so I get up there and I go to that chapter, and we start talking about that one verse. And honestly, we got done, and Stephanie told me, because I didn't have a scrap of a note. It's just the word.
Yeah.
And Stephanie said, "You should preach without notes more often, because that was one of the best sermons that you've ever preached." And but it was because of family worship. And so it's not just for the kids. It blesses me.
Yeah.
And so it's a priority that we make, and I encourage everybody to do it because of the blessings that come.
Yeah.
That's
Amen.
awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, that's definitely something that I keep saying I want to do it. I want to do it. And it's something I know I'm going to have to be just intentional about, because I'm never going to have the time to do it, unless I set it aside and say, "Hey, this is what's going to happen."
And sometimes the kids, they can hold your feet to the fire on that.
Yeah.
Because it gets a certain time of night, and they know that we do that before bedtime. And so sometimes if they don't want to go to bed, they're like, "Hey, we're going to do worship." It's like, "Yeah, we are."
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That's good. I was encouraging to hear that they were already in there singing, before y'all even get in there. And then you talked about the kids praying, and man, that's one thing I absolutely love, and I try my best. Avery's, she's 7, and she's, I don't know, she gets shy, even with just me and Kelly in the room, and trying to get her to pray. And she's like, "No, you just do it, Daddy." And I'm like, I want to hear you pray, because it's just, there's something special about hearing a child's prayer, and then, just thinking about being in Matthew 18, and, it's the focus on that childlike faith and living out, your faith as a child would. And, and so when you hear a kid pray, something, it's real, it's genuine.
Yeah.
So
It's honest.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Good
That reminded me, though, this completely changing subject, but Neil had the opportunity to go to India with us when we went on our mission trip last year.
Right.
Well, I guess it was this year, but anyway. And there was one night where we were going, it was me, you, I think Luke and Hilton, maybe, I can't remember, but we were going somewhere, and you were supposed to preach that night.
Yeah.
And I was like,
No, I wasn't supposed to preach. I was supposed to just give like a blurb or testimony or something.
Oh, okay. I kept asking you, I was like, "So what are you gonna do?" And he was like, "I have no idea." I was like, "Well," and here I am with 16 pages of notes, knowing exactly what I'm about to say. And he was like, "I don't know." He just would close his eyes and start praying. And then right before he was supposed to get up there, they had these girls that were dancing and stuff up there in the church. Yeah. And right before I said, "What are you going to speak over?" He was like, "I don't know." I was like, "Man."
So real.
He was like, but man, you got up there, and it was incredible, and it was definitely spirit led, which is what the goal should be every time. So
absolutely.
It was.
You can't get up in your own strength.
No, that was really cool to be a part of, and I know that's exactly how that went the other day at the church when 100% spirit led. So
good stuff.
I love that, you just shared with us what family worship looked like, because it is something that, not a lot of families grow up with. So they don't really know even how to implement that. Like, where do I even start? Because I have no experience of it. And so I think that is such an encouragement for just start somewhere. Kind of, here's a format, but then you can adjust it to how your family, what are their needs? Do you have a 3-year-old who is in that kind of busier season, and how can you work that in? But kind of going off of that, I've been so encouraged by Miss Stephanie, getting to grow in our relationship together as sisters in Christ, getting to learn her testimony, hear her story, and just see her faithfulness. She is a picture for me of a gentle and quiet spirit, and she does that with so much grace. And so I'm so blessed to just know her and get to watch her live out her faith with the Lord in a daily basis. But going off of that, I know that for our women out there, the mom plays an important role in the family dynamic and the family structure. And just supporting you, submitting to you, and leading her family well. And so kind of talking about that, what are some ways that maybe Miss Stephanie has kind of helped in that process of family worship, and maybe for other moms out there to kind of, be able to take some advice and wisdom from that?
Yeah. So some nights I'm wore out and I'm tired, and just like the kids will say, we're doing family worship. Stephanie will say that, and I need to.
Yeah.
And I'm the one who leads it. So
yeah.
And some nights, if I get a phone call for ministry purposes, she'll take over and she'll do it, and I appreciate that. But she's an integral part. So and she loves it. And so that helps. When you have a wife that doesn't think it's weird.
Right.
And because stuff you've never done before, you haven't seen done before, you're like, this is kind of kooky,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But she's always supported me in that, and all my crazy ideas, hey, we'll try that.
Yeah.
And so it's worked out.
Yeah.
So.
I love that, because a lot of times, the wife's perspective of the husband's idea, the father's idea, can oftentimes, put an opinion for the child's, perspective on the thing.
Definitely.
And so I think being a team first and foremost, and saying, hey, we're going to enjoy this together. We're going to take part in this together. We're going to do it together, is really important, because that way that she does submit to your authority as the husband and leader of the household is a perfect demonstration for the kids to see and enjoy that as well. And it's a lot harder if there's friction, discourse. Neil, we don't have enough time tonight, or just frustration, argument in that conflict. Kids are a lot more likely to adapt that attitude as well. And so I think that is encouraging to just hear her encouragement for you and trust in that, and her enjoyment in it as well.
Yeah, and
awesome.
A lot of times, when we were dealing with them being young, she'd be the one wrestling them on the couch while I'm trying to read the word. But that's important. That I didn't have to stop what I'm doing and do that. She's like slapping kids and doing what needs to be done.
That school teacher kind of came out.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, tell us how. So you were raised here in Blakely.
Yeah.
So tell us how that looks like, coming back here, raising your family, setting your own roots, joining the ministry in a community where you were raised in. How does that look like?
So I was never one of these ones who just didn't want to come back to Blakely. I like the small town life. I also, I thought I'd be doing missions on the other side of the world. Yeah. I did that for a time early on before we were married. And, but once you have a family, start having kids, you better be where you're going to be, because, it's hard to change. But God was in all of that. And for the longest time, going to church, we went to a few different churches and ministered in a few different churches in various roles and capacities. And then we landed on a church in Dothan. And so we would drive an hour every Sunday, Wednesday, to do that. But it's different. You travel to a church, you're not as able to be plugged in to all the things, especially with the time change. It's extremely difficult. So coming back to Blakely, to First Baptist, was kind of a it just happened. We didn't have the kids that Sunday. The grandparents had the kids. Me and Stephanie were like, don't really feel like driving an hour, so let's just go somewhere local. And we would go visit churches, if we knew the church was struggling or something like that, and we had some tie to it just to encourage people. Yeah. So this wasn't, anything odd for us to do, but we had no intentions of coming to join First Baptist.
Right.
And so, I'd known that y'all got Chris as the pastor.
Right.
It was really early on. And so, so we just came to visit that Sunday, and me growing up here, it was like coming home. Like everybody's like, "Hey, Neil," and Stephanie's like, "Who is that?" And so I thought Stephanie was going to hate it, because it's a bigger setting.
Right.
It's a First Baptist church.
There's something about that First Baptist.
Yeah. And but she walked out. And she was like, "I really love that."
Oh.
Not just the people, and there's something to be said about being an old sanctuary that's got so much history, and me having history there as well, and people just welcoming us, and it being home.
Right.
And so it was shortly after that we were like, yeah, we think God's leading us back, and because we just never found a church that we fit in locally that had sound preaching.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Truly.
Oh yeah.
And so that's why we would travel an hour. It was worth it. To do that. But then when Chris came and there was sound preaching, and we were like, well, we don't have to drive an hour anymore. Let's plug in here. And, and so that's what we did. And the floodgates of ministry just opened up. I've been doing ministry for years prior to this, while doing construction and all the things, but not in any great capacity like coming back. And it's like the floodgates just opened up.
Yeah.
And it was all God. I can see that now. And I think in years prior, I was probably a little zealous and didn't need to be in full-time ministry. But,
what did that journey look like, doing ministry kind of in and out, I guess you could say, like more in one season, kind of less in one season, or if it was kind of a difference along the lines of construction, just kind of when you first started, and what did that look like over time?
So when we first got married, the bills start rolling in, and you're like, I got to get to work. And so,
exactly.
Stephanie's dad, Steve, he was known for tile work, and so he's like, hey, I need help. I've got this big job. Come help me. And so I'd worked with him a little bit in high school years, some of the summers. And so it was just a natural fit. And so he trained me in tile work and stonemasonry. And then, I went out on my own. And so, but still having a heart for ministry. But I've got a little family, and I'm trying to learn how to be a father. So that's a trying season. So a lot of my ministry was, all right, I'm doing this job. I need help. Let me go get a young guy that, either someone mentioned to me, or I just happened upon that needed work. So, come work with me. And like, as we work, I listen to Christian music. I listen to preaching,
which is rare in that world.
Absolutely.
If you don't like that, then, oh, well, you're going to hear it. So, and so I would do that, and they would look at me like I had four heads. There were some of those guys that we would have good conversations. And so a lot of that, saw some guys come to Christ through that.
Good.
So that's what ministry looked like then, and just living it out on the everyday.
I love that, because we always, we assume ministry is a role within a church, a paid role, whether it's a pastor or, a Sunday school teacher, maybe, if we're really, generous, we'll give that title, that role, but it really is your life. It's especially, when we're brought to new life in Christ, every day is ministry, living out the gospel, proclaiming it, and doing that with other people. And so I love just the practicality of, hey, that's ministry. It's inviting people in to your work, to your everyday moments, and giving them opportunities to hear worship, to hear a sermon, to even have conversations with them individually is super awesome.
And I wasn't doing it to like specifically evangelize these guys, even though like I know this guy doesn't know Christ or anything. Okay? He's lost. I wasn't doing it for that purpose. I wasn't like putting on a sermon like, hey, he needs to hear this.
Right.
You know? I was doing it for my own self because I need to grow. You know, I desire to grow closer to Christ. And so it was for me, but through that, like God used it. And also, you know, working with the guys, sometimes we'd be working at my house, you know, doing things that need to be done at my house, and it gets late, and we're like, hey, why don't you just stay for dinner?
Yeah.
And for one of those guys, you know, that made the biggest impact on him. Him seeing, you know, when Stephanie got home with the kids, that family dynamic that was centered around Christ, you know, that made the biggest difference for some of those guys. And honestly, there was one guy who came to Christ, and who I talk to on the regular now, and he told me the story. Like, me and Stephanie got into a scuffle, and but to him, it didn't look like an argument at all. And he's like, everything okay? I was like, yeah, we're just having an argument, you know. And I didn't think anything of it. But he's like, man, I just saw that, and I was like, I want that. I've never seen that before. And so them seeing you live for Christ in the day-to-day in your home, you know, that it makes a difference. And so minister everywhere you are.
Exactly.
Did you have like a person who kind of discipled, mentored you to kind of give you a desire to do that with other people? Or was it kind of just a natural, I just want to give these guys some wisdom?
I wanted to give these guys what I didn't have.
Gotcha.
And I didn't have that guy that pulled me aside and said, hey, let's look at this together, or walk with me in this. And so when I see these guys that they're lost as Hogan's goat, you know, and they need a man to say, hey, come this direction. Don't go over there.
Right.
And, so that's how it came.
Yeah, that's good. I really like the that you shared that about the guy that come over and saw the way you led your home and your marriage, and that stuck with him, because I feel that in the same way. That's a big part of my testimony. Was one of my best friends, his parents led his father led his house home in a way that I really had never experienced before. But it was, man, it stuck with me my entire life, because I said exactly what that young guy said. I said, I want that.
Yeah.
And man, it's awesome to see the Lord work in those ways, and just you living for Him can impact the lives of others, and we should all live in that way. That because we know that a marriage relationship looks like the gospel, because you have to die to yourself. So
Right.
Yeah.
That's what it's meant to be.
Yeah.
Let's back up just a hair.
Okay.
Or I don't know how long we got to go back, but let's take us back, because before you can even get into doing ministry and leading your family like you have, I mean, you got to know Christ before you can share Christ, right? Before you can live it out, you got to have the relationship. So take us back to the beginning of your faith journey. Like, how did you come to know Christ, and then, you know, what did that early walk look like? And then, you know, just how has your faith journey grown since then?
Yeah. So grew up in First Baptist. So we were adopted, me and my sister, at 7.
Were y'all were y'all adopted from the same family?
Yes.
Yeah, gotcha.
And so that's when we came to Blakely. She was 6, I was 7, and from day one, we're in First Baptist.
Yeah.
Okay. If the doors are open, we're here, and so that exposure, you know, it makes all the difference in the world. Now, as a kid, you know, you want to do right. You want to please God, and so they say, hey, walk the aisle, give your life to Christ, be baptized. And so I was like, okay, well, that's what good people do, so that's what I'm going to do. I didn't understand the gospel, though, and so I did it. I think I was, I don't know, 8, 9, something like that, and but there was no change.
Yeah.
Which is typical, you know, and God works through that. And I was 13, and there was a visiting pastor, and I don't remember what he said. I was sitting in the pews over there on the left-hand side where all the youth sat.
Right.
And God, through the Holy Spirit, got a hold of me, and I felt like, you know, the floor was going to open up and swallow me, you know. And so I remember going down, and just really laying it all down at the altar and like, whatever it takes. God, I am yours, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Just save me. And from that point on, everything changed.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
The desires, they change. The sins that you struggle with, they're not as appealing anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so everything changed. There was a genuine conversion.
Right.
But there wasn't a lot of growth
Mm-hmm.
through those high school years into college. I didn't have a man to pull me aside and say, hey, you need to know this. And let me teach you about the Christian life. And so I struggled. And really there was that dichotomy that there are normal people and then there are pastors and ministers. And so the pastors and ministers, they have to be the spiritual people who read their Bibles and do all the things. You're just a normal Christian. So
Right.
there's no responsibility.
Yeah.
And so I get to college and start the fraternity life one semester and just kind of test the waters on the other side of the fence, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because I'd been sheltered. I didn't know what that was like. And so delve into that, and it was completely miserable. It brought a little bit of satisfaction, but it brought a lot of grief. And so the Holy Spirit's convicted me the entire time. And so eventually God gets a hold of me through some circumstances. And I get serious. And I remember kneeling down in the dorm room that day and like, God, I believe, I know what you've done for me, but in holding the Bible, I don't know you. I want to know you.
Yeah.
And I believe this word, but I need you to be real to me. I need you to show up. And so I'm going to start walking with you and I'm going to pray and I need you to show up. And so, and man, he did.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so that was the beginning of my walk. And naturally, you know, having lived like a hellion in front of all these fraternity guys, my heart went out to them because as I started talking to them, I realized they were lost. They had no clue. They may have grown up in the South, but they didn't know the gospel.
Yeah.
And they didn't know what awaited them outside of Christ. And so I was burdened for them, started witnessing to some of the guys as the Lord gave me opportunity, and witnessing to other people on campus, and really like seeing God work is like the coolest thing.
Yeah.
It's like so addicting.
Oh yeah, it is.
And so that led to greater and greater ministry, and like to the point where I remember late one night, it was about 2 a.m., I walked out of an apartment where we had just been praying and ministering to somebody, and I looked up at the stars before I got in my truck, and I said, God, I want every day to be like today. So, and from that point on, it was, ministry has always been part of my life and to some degree. So it didn't always look perfect, but and so yeah,
it's good stuff.
That's awesome.
Man, it's neat to see how God can. I mean, all along the way, He's shaping you. You know, He's forming you through even the bad parts of life.
Yeah,
you know,
He's doing
it. He's working it all because, you know, we talk about how He's sovereign over all things,
right,
good and bad, and so, you know, uses it all ultimately for His glory in the end. And so yeah, I mean, it's been, and I've heard you share some of that before, and it's encouraging just to see where God has you now, you know, and how He's just continuing to use you. I love what's going on there.
Yeah.
Well, let's think about this here at First Baptist. You're one of our deacons, and you're also, you know, you were ordained before you even came here, you know, and so you filled the pulpit several times for us here, and I always enjoy hearing you teach because I know your love and desire for sound preaching. So I know when you get up there, it's going to be sound preaching as well. So just tell us a little bit about that. You know, what is it like preaching again in a church you grew up in? You know, in the same sanctuary you grew up in, the same sanctuary you knelt at the altar at, and all that good stuff, and then just share a little bit like when you approach preaching, like how do you do that?
Yeah. So there's something special about, going and getting in that specific pulpit that's different than anywhere else because it means so much to me. And the people that I'm preaching to, some of those guys taught me in RAs. I watched some of those men when they were younger. And so there's a gravity there when I get to preach. And so I take it pretty seriously. And, but no, it's a high privilege. And I always love preaching here. And preparing for a sermon, whether it's here or somewhere else, I always tell people I'm not that smart. And so the Word is everything. And so so I go to the Word and I say, all right, show me the passage that I need to preach. If I don't have something already burning on my heart that He's shown me in the Word, then Lord, show me the passage that you want me to preach. And He does it every time. And it may be a passage that, I look at and I'm like, really? Like, how does that apply to these people? And, but He's always faithful to give truth where it's needed from that passage. So I don't start with an idea. I start with a text. And then in looking at that text and praying and thinking about the people that I'm preaching to, God speaks. Says, they need to hear this. I remember I had to fill in early on in this position at one of the local churches. It was like the week I had the job. They called and said, hey, we need you to preach tomorrow. Oh, wow. And so I was like, wow, we're jumping into the fire.
Yeah, exactly.
And so preparing sermons last minute is not easy.
No, it's not.
And so in looking through a text, I felt like I needed to preach on Jesus' call of the first disciples, Peter, James, and John. And I'm like, this is kind of odd. This is a small church, gray-headed folks. Like, I don't know why. And so, but, quickly on as I'm studying the passage, I realized that, Peter, James, and John, they've been out fishing all night. They're tired. They're exhausted. And that's when Jesus comes to them and says, hey, I got ministry for you to do. Yeah. And so immediately, as I'm getting ready to preach to these older people, I'm thinking, they've been doing ministry for years. They're tired. They're gray-headed. And this particular church had a lot of young, kids or teenagers that they bust in, but they didn't have, the middle age to handle that rambunctious behavior.
They were tired.
They were. And so for me to get up there and say, this is what God is telling you. Like, He knows you're exhausted. And He's going to work through that. You just need to drop the net, and let Him do the work. Amen. Be faithful.
Yeah.
And so
that's powerful.
God does it every time. And the second that I get my ideas into it is when I'm going to mess up. So,
ain't that the truth?
And I read a book by an older pastor years ago, and he always described getting up in the pulpit as like getting on a bull and riding a bull, because you just don't know what's going to happen. And I would equate it to that as well. Like, I look forward to see what God's going to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I don't always know what direction it's going to go.
You hope at the end you land on your feet, but you may land on your butt instead.
That's right. So,
yeah. That's good stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we just talked about how you're a deacon and you even preached here a little bit. You just got a new job. You've spoke on it a little bit.
Yeah.
And this is a tongue twister if I've ever heard one, all this. But
they keep changing the title.
Yeah.
You are the Associational Missions Strategist for the Bethel Baptist Association.
That's right.
Used to be Director of Missions, and then they keep changing.
Yeah.
So for the average churchgoer and me, no. What first off, tell us a little bit about the Bethel Baptist Association, and then kind of tell us what it looks like for you day to day, what you do going around to these different churches.
Yeah.
So in first getting this job, Chris was the first one who approached me and said, hey, I think you'd be good for this job. And I had grown up knowing about the association, but I didn't know what it did.
Right.
I knew James Holloway would come in and he would preach and fill in every now and then, but I was like, I don't know what he does.
Right.
He just shows up when he's needed.
Yeah,
And,
I was same boat for a long time.
So I really didn't know what to expect. And so it's been and I think my approach to it has been been very different than the typical approach. So the association is really, it's older than the convention. It's older than the Southern Baptist Convention. It got started in 1833, and I was shocked. When I first got the position, I immediately started reading the history on it because I thought, well, this is probably something that started back in the 60s or 70s.
Right. No.
It has a fantastic history and a lot of godly men that have gone before me in this position. So that has been an encouragement and something that I needed. And, so the association is basically just the Baptist churches in the local area that decided, hey, we're going to come together so that we can do more ministry.
Right.
We're going to pool our resources so that we can do more ministry. And one of the interesting facts about the association is most of the churches, when they got started, they were 10 and 12 members.
Yeah.
10 and 12 members. And so we look around at some of these smaller churches and we're like, man, we're struggling. Now, the largest church had 30-something members when it got started.
Wow.
And so that's the idea, is that we would pool resources and that we would work together. And my job is to coordinate ministry between the churches and get people over here to work with people at this church and to do more ministry. But also my heart for it is to make the churches healthier.
Yes.
You know, we don't want these separate kingdoms. We're all in one kingdom working together. We're all one church. And so getting us outside of that mindset where we've got to do it all. No, your brothers and sisters over here are doing it too. Go work with them.
Exactly.
And so my heart is that the churches would be strengthened. And my conviction is if the churches are strengthened, if they are worshiping God as they ought to, then ministry will flow from that. You don't come to a church that's struggling and say, hey, you need to do a bunch of ministry. That's not going to go good.
Yeah.
It's not going to work, but if you go to a church and you say, hey, this is what you need to do, let's worship God first and foremost.
Exactly.
Not focus on the ministry, and then the ministry will come naturally.
Yeah.
And so getting people to see that is one of my biggest goals.
Because like you just said, once we try to get our ideas into it, that's when it goes downhill really quick. And when I think we've seen that in a lot of churches, we've talked about this before, but we try to maintain control, be in control, whether it's through small things or big things. And it separates us and separates churches for that matter as well. And but has there really been anything that's been, I guess you could say, shocking coming into this ministry? There's probably been a lot of things.
There have been several things that are shocking. But as far as the churches are concerned, the great need of this hour for sound preaching that is founded on the Word has probably been the most shocking thing to me. And so that's very much what I'm pursuing for the association. Is we got to get younger men to get them ready to fill these pulpits, because a lot of these pastors have been faithful for years and years, and they are ready to step down. Some of them need to, but there's no one to fill that void.
It's tough. I mean, I've been involved before I came to Blakely. I was at Donaldsonville First Baptist, and before that, I was at Jakin Baptist, and I grew up in that area anyway. So, I mean, pretty much all of my life being involved in church, I've been involved in the Bowen Association, which is over in the Bainbridge area and covers, I think they only have like 3 counties they cover.
Yeah.
How many
There's
counties? 6.
Yeah,
how many churches?
6. So we started off with 34, and one of them closed. So we're about 33.
33 churches. And that's a lot. That's a lot of area to cover. And I think, I want to say, just looking at the maps, because I know our association is part of a bigger, the Georgia Baptist Mission Board and all, and you can look at the maps that they'll show the different associations around the state, and ours is one of the...
It is. Geographically,
if it's not, it's the biggest. I've just noticed that before, so it's a lot of work to do, and I know it's got to be a tough spot to be in a lot of times, too, because, you mentioned trying to get churches to work together.
Yeah.
And you know, we have this mentality, and sometimes we don't even, I don't know, sometimes I feel like we don't even realize it's happening. You know, just a couple weeks ago, we had the leadership training here with the association, and I think it was, I don't know if it was when Thomas Hammond was up there speaking, or it might have been when Steve Browning was up there. But anyway, one of them mentioned how, you know, we should be celebrating with our fellow churches. Like when we see somebody down the road baptizing folks, I mean, that should just bring the biggest joy in our hearts. It's just the other day I was at the Bowen Association. I'm still involved with the Bowen Association because I do college ministry over in Bainbridge, and they help with they support that financially and all, and all the churches over there support that. But I went to a youth rally that they were having over in Colquitt, and I was sitting there talking, and you know, I came from First Baptist Donaldsonville, and their current youth pastor Adam was there, and we got to talking, you know, and you would think sometimes there should be some, I don't know, some conflict there, right? Because he took my place, you know. But you know, I stepped out. He came like a year later, maybe something like it was almost a year later, I think, when he came into that role. But anyway, some people were like, yeah, "Man, y'all shouldn't get along." I'm like, why wouldn't we? But I remember sitting there because I've noticed on their Facebook page here, just within the last year or so, they've been baptizing a lot of folks at that church, and I'm like, I looked at them, I said, "Man, that's awesome." And I can't help but celebrate it because some of those folks I look at, I'm like, I know that person.
Yeah.
Like, I remember working on that kid, you know, and wanting them to get saved. And so, I mean, why wouldn't we celebrate? And it's not just within Baptist churches. I mean, we do that. The church up the street on the next corner from us, you know, it's like we should be celebrating when people get saved. And because it's not about, we make it competition.
We do.
And that is the worst thing we could do when it comes to the gospel, because it's not about competition, right? We want to make heaven crowded, right? That's kind of the one of the things that's going around, and that should be the case. We want to make heaven crowded. I'm not worried about my church being crowded.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, naturally you want that to happen, you know, but not so much that you hate that somebody else's church is being crowded.
Yeah.
You know,
and you're not fighting to pull people from other churches to come to your church.
Exactly.
Well, I think we're highly obsessed with seeing the results ourselves instead of trusting the Lord to do it elsewhere. We want to be a part of that instead of letting the Lord use us where He wants us.
Yeah, my thing is, like you say, I mean, if I know the word's being preached and they're getting that solid teaching and they're growing in their faith because of it, cheer it on, celebrate it to as much as you possibly can, you know. So
I had a young guy that he called me sometime last year, and he said, "Hey, man, I'm thinking about coming to First Baptist, you know."
Yeah.
And I just said, "Man, I love you, but like, just as the amen, I need you where you're at because you are sound and you're doing good work where you're at.
Yep.
And so please stay,
you
know, and labor with us there."
There you go. Yeah. That's good stuff.
Yeah. How would you give like wisdom for somebody who's kind of in a position to where, okay, I'm searching, maybe longing for that maybe vibrant church life, I guess you could say, and that biblical doctrinal teaching, but yet still kind of wrestling between staying here and being faithful and laboring on here where God has me at, kind of wrestling between those two things. How would you give wisdom to someone in that position?
That's a tough situation. You know, there was one church plant that me and Stephanie were a part of that we labored, we plugged in, and we were a part of that ministry. But at some point we realized, like, theologically, this church is never going to be where we believe Scripture is saying church should be.
Right.
And so, and talking to those leading the church, you know, that was the case.
Yeah.
So we were like, well, you know, me as a husband, as a father, like, I've got to make that stand. Like, this is truth.
Yes.
I believe this is truth. I believe this is not. So we're, you know, we love you. You know, we'll continue to support you, but we're going to go somewhere where the theology and doctrine is there, because your theology and your doctrine, it leads to good living.
Yep.
Yes.
It leads to the way that you flesh out your Christian life. So if you have poor theology, poor doctrine, it's going to lead to a struggle and growth in your Christian
100%.
So,
I mean,
and the fruits will show that as well that you bear.
Oh yeah,
it does.
I think the sad side of that is that y'all handled it right. Like you're like, I'm going to find somewhere else that can. I think there's a lot of people they get hurt in a church like that, and then they step out of it, like take their family out of church, and then and once you do that, it's so much harder to get back in. Right. And that's what I've heard people say about, some folks that maybe have left First Baptist Blakely, for example, in the past over, different and sometimes solid, genuine reasons that they left, but then they kind of just drifted out of the whole church sphere altogether, didn't find another place to get plugged into. And so now, I mean, I've talked to some that are like, hey, I don't know, it's almost like they know they should come back. And to this church even specifically, but they're like, I just don't know what people will think when I come back. And I want to tell them so hard, just grab their shoulders and just shake them. Who cares? Yeah. Right. And 99% of the time, ain't nobody else in that church going to be thinking that's all in your own mind, and we just need to pray through it and get over it no matter what. Even if somebody does say something, well, I never thought I'd see you in here. Here I am. That's right. Let's praise God that we're here.
Exactly.
Kind of deal. So,
and you're not going to find a perfect church. And you got to eventually get to that point where you realize that. And if you do find the perfect church, don't go there.
It's not a perfect church anymore.
I remember Miss Jennifer, I was telling her something about Katie and Carson, kind of like, hey, we see this and we don't really know what to do about it. And they kind of had a burden for it, right? They maybe saw a problem and they were working through it. And I kind of shared it with her and she was like, sometimes the Lord kind of opens your eyes to a problem because you're the solution He has for it. And I think oftentimes we don't want to be that solution because we just want to find the easy way out rather than, hey, how could I actually, take biblical doctrinal teaching and go about that in a process of a Bible study, right? How could I see an issue, whether it's something to do with music or whatever it is, and take it upon myself to initiate that service in that area, to be willing to do that because, it's not a coincidence that you've noticed an issue there. And so how can we maybe instead of being complainers about that issue, jump into praying for a solution and realizing that, hey, I could be that solution to, helping that turn around, so to speak. But I know we kind of have some of our favorite speakers and pastors. We share a good bit of authors that we enjoy to read. And so I love hearing maybe some favorites and quotes and just series and all those things that have really impacted people in their faith walk. And so kind of for you, maybe who have been some of your favorite pastors, teachers, elders in the faith, saints that have gone before you that you've learned from, and maybe even pieces of advice that have just stuck with you over time?
So in my journey, I have listened to various pastors from all different walks, and some of them I have sat under hours of teaching, only to find out later that it was really heretical and it was not healthy.
Right.
Okay. But eventually God brought me through the Spirit to notice what is truth and see a consistency in certain men and certain theological persuasions. And so really going back to the old guys, I think it's Jeremiah says, go back to the old paths.
Yeah.
And so for me, I didn't want the trendy Christianity. I want something that's like been around.
Yeah.
I want to know that there's fruit behind this. And so looking to guys who have gone to those old dead guys for wisdom and counsel, and looking at the fruit in these guys' ministry, not numbers, but like fruit, health. Looking at those men who God really used throughout history to like great moves. That He really did things. Guys like in the Great Awakening, I think of with George Whitefield and Jonathan Edwards. I looked at those guys and I said, what is their theology?
Yeah.
Okay. What are the guys that are still walking in those footsteps?
Mm-hmm.
And that led me to guys like R.C. Sproul, guys like Paul Washer, John Piper, John MacArthur, guys that they would go to these old guys and they would pull from their knowledge and their wisdom. And so, and I didn't always agree with those guys in the beginning. I had some major issues with theological things I just couldn't wrap my head around.
Yeah.
And eventually I got to a point where I'm like, all these guys are saying the same thing.
Yeah.
They're saying the same thing. I guess the problem is me.
Yeah.
And so, and then go into the Word and like God just through His Spirit gives clarity.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say Paul Washer, Bodie Balcom. I love that guy. I learned so much from him. John Piper. Those are three major influences.
Right.
And I would say I don't agree with everything, but man, they really have. God has used their ministry to really grow me and stretch me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yes, I've heard many people say, it's and it is scary. I've talked with our college kids about this through BCM sometimes because they'll have these men that they really admire, and then all of a sudden some great big moral failure comes into the light, and it's like, well, what do I do now? And so it's I've always heard people say, well, if you stick to the dead guys, right? They're already dead and gone, and they can't mess up now, kind of deal. And so, and that's why I admire some of those same older guys that are unfortunately are dead and gone now. And even some of the more recent ones, like Bodie, you mentioned. Bodie, at first, I wasn't sure how I felt about him because he made a statement one time that basically said youth pastors aren't needed, and that's a simple way to put it. And it was much deeper than that. And I got what he was saying, but at first I was like, well, I don't know if I like this.
No.
But I mean, he was such a solid guy, and when he died, that was within the last year or so. So, that was a big hit for me personally, just because I really did admire him, and he was over in Africa. I guess it was a seminary, college, whatever. I'm not sure what they
seminary.
Yeah. Spurgeon's one of my
absolutely.
heroes. Kind of again, those dudes that are
There's
dead.
so many.
In fact, Spurgeon's right over your shoulder up there.
His shelf to himself.
His bobblehead is up there, but anyway, it's good to have men like that to look into and read the truths that they wrote and dig deeper into it. And again, there's some things I don't always agree with all of them on certain methods of baptism and the way they view communion and things like that. But again, that's one of those things that you can be like, okay, I can get past that, and see, man, they're solid folks, and again, and to know why are they so solid? Why can we, look to them and trust what they're saying is true? Is because they're going to the Word.
That's right.
They always point back to the Word. Yep. So. Good stuff.
If you go to my office, I'm going to say this. I've got this wall that I've started. So my desk is here, and the wall that is facing me, I've started this collage of these preachers and theologians, and I call it my cloud of witnesses. Watching me work, make sure I'm doing my job. And so I've got all those guys.
Hold yourself accountable.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Spurgeon is right in the middle, and he's like, I pick these pictures, these portraits where they're like glaring. So Spurgeon is looking.
They're looking at you. It's like the one where like no matter where you move, the eyes are always on you. Yeah.
Always on you. Always on.
That's awesome.
Well, let's do this. It's been about an hour, I guess. So everybody's getting a little antsy and ready to move around a little bit and stretch. But just kind of wrap everything up. So you're part of the Bethel Association, part of our church right here at FBC, and so many of our people listen to this podcast and beyond even. And so I know there's some listening that are part of other Bethel churches and. So how can we as a church pray for you, support the association, support you as our Associational Missionary Strategist, AMS. That's
AMS, yeah.
What can we do to better support our association and you?
Yeah. I would say prayer. I have pastors meeting once a month where I get together with some of these pastors and we pray together and we talk about struggles. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot that pastors are going through that congregations know nothing of.
Yeah. Right.
There's a heavy weight there that they feel, especially the ones that are really desiring to do it right.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that the average churchgoer understands the pressure.
Yeah.
Not just in the ministry, the job, but there's no job that is so closely tied to your marriage and your family like the pastorate. And so,
amen to that.
Satan, your flesh, can get in your family and disrupt ministry. And it's we all need a lot of prayer.
Amen.
And y'all know this. That's the biggest area. And beyond that, I want more churches involved in the association. Like anything that, while I'm at the helm, anything that we do, like we're going to do it to the best of our ability. It's going to be worthwhile. I don't want to waste your time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so if we do it, we want it to be God honoring, God glorifying, and edifying to church members.
Yeah. Amen.
And so involvement is huge. And the more involvement we have, the more we can do.
Yeah.
Exactly.
More active participation.
Absolutely.
The more I'm able to do, the more resources we have, all the things. So we got a lot of things coming up that we're excited about. Hopefully going to start some seminary classes and open that up to some of the churches.
That's exciting.
Yeah. Get some of these young guys in classes. And so, just a lot of good things. So,
yeah, that's awesome.
Well, I sure am thankful for you, man. It has been an absolute pleasure ever since that first day that we, even though our lives, they kind of, we crossed paths, it seems like in our past and didn't even know each other. Both lived in Arlington, didn't even know it. But yeah, man, it's been a blessing to be able to get to know you and your family and just to see your fire for the Lord and the ministry, and not being selfish with it, wanting to see the worldwide church for Christ grow and not slow down and reach our local communities, man. It is, I couldn't imagine anybody else in the position, and because I see your fire for it and your love for the Lord, and it drives it all, and that's awesome. But I do have one question for you.
Okay.
What's your favorite hymn?
That's a tough one. Probably, can I give two?
Sure, yeah. So,
Come Thou Fount.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my favorite.
And Jesus Paid It All.
Jesus paid it all. All right, good deal. We did that Sunday night.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good answer.
Good answer.
Favorite movie?
Maybe Cinderella Man.
Oh,
I got
Cinderella.
one for
That
you.
is a good one.
That's a good one.
Okay. I haven't seen
Favorite,
that one in a while.
I'm not going to make it too narrow-minded. Favorite book of the Bible.
Favorite book of the Bible.
I always have to do Old Testament and a New Testament.
Okay, you can have two.
Old Testament, probably Genesis, because of all that it sets up
Yeah.
theologically. And New Testament it probably had to be Romans, because it just, I mean, that's where all my theology, it came together.
Yeah.
The gospel came together for me in Romans. So.
Well, we are starting Romans for our women's study in the fall. And so for the kickoff, I was thinking about talking to, kind of getting us started with the history of Romans and even going back to Martin Luther himself, right?
Absolutely.
And so I thought that would
she
be
roped
fun.
you right into that.
So we might have a guest speaker maybe on our first night.
Oh, man.
That's awesome.
I feel like Neil's a little bit like, just because we've talked about it, we kind of nerd out on the history stuff and going back and looking at some of these guys and what they taught us. It's good stuff. Yeah. But Romans
y'all are nerds in the best way.
Thank you for that. I appreciate you clarifying that. Yeah, we'll receive that one. But yeah, thank you again for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
We appreciate you coming in and taking the time to share with us, and look forward to the impact this little interview will make.
Yeah.
Hopefully so.
So thank you again. But yeah, y'all heard it. I mean, we need help. The church is working together. There's a big reason why I believe the cooperative program that the Southern Baptist Convention has is and again that just trickles down, and all the way down to the local church. But man, when we work together, we can do so much more.
Yeah, we can.
So much more than we could as individuals, and so. And that's what the church was meant to be. Yeah. Right? You've got the local church body, yes, but it expands so much further as the other local bodies come together and work as well. So that unity is just as important with other churches. And so thank you for what you're doing there. But get involved when you see stuff going on in the association. Be sure to get plugged in and be active in those things and push others to do the same as well, because it makes a big difference. But thank you once again for joining us here on the Proclaim podcast, where we're living every day and hoping that we proclaiming Jesus from generation to generation, both within the local church here at First Baptist Blakely, but beyond as well in our association and beyond that into the rest of the world. So we will see y'all next time.